Powered by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
President Trump is facing growing criticism for comments he made at a ceremony honoring Native American war heroes. I'm Roxana Saberi in New York with what Native American leaders are saying.
A smoke alarm stopped an early morning residential fire from turning tragic. I'll give you the dramatic details coming up.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. I'm Missy O'Malley. Chet Lehman is off today. Matt will have our forecast in just a moment. President Trump faces growing criticism over a comment that he made while honoring Native Americans that many are calling a racial slur. CBS's Roxana Saberi is in New York with more on the concern over what the president said and where he said it.
It was supposed to be a ceremony focused on honoring Native American code talkers, but that focus quickly shifted from those who used their tribal language to relay military orders during World War II to language President Trump used while recognizing them.
You were here long before any of us were here, although we have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago. They call her Pocahontas.
The president was referring, as he often has, to Massachusetts Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren. Warren has claimed she's part Cherokee. After the event, the Navajo Nation released a statement calling the president's words culturally insensitive, and the National Congress of American Indians described it as a slur that overshadowed the Native American war heroes the president was there to honor.
It is so disturbing that at an event like that, a celebration of heroes, that Donald Trump has to turn once again to a racial slur.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders, when asked about it, insisted the president did not intend to sound offensive or use a slur.
I think what most people find offensive is Senator Warren lying about her heritage to advance her career.
Adding fuel to critical fire, Mr. Trump's comment was made underneath a portrait of Andrew Jackson, the president who signed into law the Indian Removal Act. Roxana Saberi, CBS News.
Now there's currently 13 Navajo code talkers still alive. Those at the ceremony asked for a museum to be built in order to help remember their heroism. President Trump agreed to help, telling them, quote, "You deserve it."
Well, it looks like we're going to be dealing with some cool temperatures this morning. Man, it is chilly. You're going to want the coats early on in the morning. Temperature right now holding into the teens and 20s, single digits in West Yellowstone. Generally clear skies, and that's going to allow those temperatures to at least bounce up into the noon hour, likely to be into the 30s. Don't look for those temperatures to warm much above the mid to upper 30s. A couple of areas may brush the 40-degree mark before the afternoon, but the potential of snow back in the forecast overnight. We're going to talk more in depth about your forecast, of course, coming up in just a few minutes. Missy?
I suppose it's about time. Thanks, Matt. Now 6:34. Late yesterday afternoon, sheriff deputies and police officers responded to a call near Zoot Enterprises in Four Corners of a man walking around with a rifle. According to the sheriff's office, the call was originally for suicide. When law enforcement heard that the man was in possession of a hunting rifle, they decided to close Zoot Way and put neighborhoods and businesses on lockdown.
Once we got a secure scene, negotiators were able to make contact with the subject. They made contact with him, talked with him, and were able to talk him into agreeing to putting down the rifle and coming out and getting help.
Now, the subject was taken to the hospital for a mental evaluation. No one was injured in the incident, fortunately. And the State Workers' Compensation Fund has gone to court to block a $30 million transfer of fund assets meant to help balance the state budgets. But now it appears that the fund may withdraw that suit. MTN's Mike Dennison has our story.
2 weeks ago, a special session of the legislature passed several measures to fill a $227 million hole in the state budget. Part of that package is a bill transferring $30 million from the reserves of the State Work Comp Fund into the state treasury. The day after lawmakers left town, however, the state fund filed suit to block that transfer, arguing the money is for use only for work comp claims related to worker injuries.
Once it is established that the legislature can legislate and take assets through whatever means they choose, then that means that there's no protection to the assets of Montana State Fund for the very purpose for which the premium was paid, and that's workers' benefits.
But since then, Governor Steve Bullock has appointed 2 new members to the State Fund Board, and that board has called an emergency meeting for Wednesday to consider withdrawing the suit. Bullock made it clear Monday that he doesn't think the lawsuit should continue.
I don't know that it's the most productive way when the legislature's passed this for the state fund to be suing the state of Montana. I think what they ought to do is follow the law that the legislature passed.
The State Fund is a quasi-governmental agency that writes work comp insurance for 26,000 Montana businesses. Supporters of the $30 million transfer say it won't hurt the financial condition of the fund. But State Fund customers like State Representative Greg Hertz of Polson say the fund board should hold fast and not withdraw the lawsuit.
If we're going to take $30 million out of Montana State Fund, what happens if we have some catastrophic event or the stock market has a major correction? There's a lot of issues that could happen that could impact the reserves of State Fund, and this just is not a good idea.
Hertz says he'll attend Wednesday's State Fund Board meeting to make his arguments. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Now, the State Fund Board will meet again Wednesday afternoon in Helena. More to follow. And a Belgrade man was charged with his 8th felony DUI on Sunday. It happened after concerned employees at a veterinary hospital reported that an intoxicated driver had come into the clinic. They didn't want him to drive away. That man is Mark J. Littlefield. He reportedly told officers that he had 7 prior DUI-related convictions after he was arrested on Sunday. Littlefield was also charged with probation violation during his appearance in Gallatin County Justice Court on Monday. His bail was set at $15,000. He was ordered not to leave the state of Montana and not to drive unless he has a permit. And the Senate tax reform plan could head to vote as soon as Thursday, and it stands with Montana Senator Steve Daines possibly voting the measure down. Daines, Republican, posted on Twitter on Monday about the conversation he had over the weekend with President Trump. Daines said that the two worked through concerns about the bill, but still, Bloomberg Politics reports Daines' staffer confirmed that he will vote the measure down in its current form. Daines reportedly believes that the tax cuts do not, quote, benefit Main Street businesses. He says in a statement that he does not want large corporations to gain competitive edge over smaller businesses. If Daines votes no, he would join 2 other Republican senators in sending it. It takes 3 Republicans to kill that bill voting no. Meanwhile, Democratic Senator John Tester also is still a no on that bill. He says, quote, the Senate bill as currently drafted saddles our kids and grandkids with more crushing debt by adding on nearly $1.5 trillion to the deficit, and it raises taxes on Montana families, forces cuts to Medicare, and benefits wealthy out-of-staters at the expense of hardworking Montanans. And one Butte family learned the importance of having working smoke alarms in their residence after they narrowly escaped a fire. MTN's John Amy talked with the family about the scary incident that occurred on Walnut Street.
An early morning fire destroyed most of the Davidson family's possessions, but they count themselves lucky thanks to a smoke alarm.
We wouldn't be alive. No chance. I'm lucky, very lucky. That thing saved our lives.
The fire started from an unattended pot on the stove about 12:30 Monday morning. The alarm woke Ryan, and she was able to rouse her 2 young children and get most of their pets out of the Walnut Street residence before it was consumed.
That was a very small window of escape time. We got to the road, which was probably only like 3 minutes. The windows were exploding, and there was flames coming out of everywhere.
She was surprised how quickly the fire spread through her home. And if it wasn't for that alarm, well, it would have been a very tragic day.
If it hadn't been for that alarm, we wouldn't have made it. I mean, like I said, it was literally like 3 minutes and the whole place was gone.
Fire officials say this is why people should always have working smoke detectors.
Good time to be thinking about those smoke alarms. We want to be checking them things, making sure the batteries are working. The people don't realize how fast those fires can move, how fast it can get hot and smoky in there, making it difficult to make your way through even your own home.
And the Davidson family certainly appreciate that their smoke alarm was working that morning. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
Now, John tells us the Red Cross has provided the family with a room at a local hotel, and the family later plans to stay with relatives in Helena. Scary story. It is a quick break. Up in just a moment, your Montana Made segment of the week featuring handcrafted knives from Scott Kirko, owner of Howling Wind Forge. But first, a little look at your heads, a look ahead at your headlines at 7 right here on CBS.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, the Red Cross response to Hurricane Harvey. Some victims say they are not getting the help they need. We'll follow the money. Only on CBS this morning, singer Andrew Day is here to reveal the Grammy nominations. We'll see you 7 o'clock on the dot.